use LDAP authentication, or you try to use the awareness program module, you will need to create LDAP connectors. Those LDAP connectors are sitting here under settings and then LDAP connectors. You will always need two types of connectors. We call the authenticator connector and the group connector. This will be empty in your eramba, and you'll have to create these two connectors. The authenticator connector is about asking eramba for a specific user and asking asking your Active Directory for a specific user and asking about the attributes of that user. So the name, the email, and the groups the user belongs to. The group connector has a different set of questions. Those questions are what groups exist in your AD and who is member of those groups. So if I say, is Esteban a member of that group, then this guy should be answering that question. So you start by creating an authenticator connector. So you go to actions and you go to add. I'm gonna edit the one I have here, which is already prepared. So you got the name of the connector, description, so to whatever you want, set it active. You put the name of the server that you're connecting to. If you're using TLS, so LDAPS, you might want to change the hostname to start with LDAPS and then the hostname. And you might want to check your LDAP file on your Linux box to make sure that the request certificate is set to never, unless you specify a certificate on your LDAP connector. Okay, ask your Linux administrator; they will know that upside down. The domain of your email, the port you're connecting to, 389 if you're not encrypted, 63 if you're encrypting on the connections. That's typically the ports people use. Then you need to tell them about what username and password to use to connect to your AD. So those questions can be made. Important thing to mention, you need a full DN for that account. You don't need only the account, you need a full DN of your account and the password. Then we need the base DN. The base DN basically will be the starting place in your LDAP tree where questions will be made from. These should definitely match this. And if it doesn't, there might be a problem later on, okay? Right, so then you go to the connector settings. Here's where you find which type of connector you want to create. I have selected the authenticator. Eramba will need to query your AD and try to find usernames. And that's because when you put the username on the login screen in Eramba, whatever you put in there will be pasted in here under this macro, which is called username. So what this query is trying to do is trying to query your AD and searching for this user. If it finds the user, then it will try to authenticate it. This query is literally a copy and paste from here, and I'm pretty sure it should work in most AD directories. If you have a different type of directory, LDAP directory, well, you might have to adjust that query. My recommendation is you always make this query as specific as possible. As you can see, I'm not searching throughout the entire directory. I'm searching for the object category user, and then the attribute must match this value itself. Okay, so the more specific you make this query, the quicker these queries will go on. When you make an LDAP query, you send the query, and also you need to tell what attributes you want to get out of whatever result comes in. So if a result comes in, you need to tell what attributes you want to get out of that. This will be a user account, and what the attributes we need to know is the account name. So the account name should match the value that you put in here. In AD, that typically is some account name. You want to get the name and surname of that person. Typically, that's the attribute in AD, and the email account of that person. That's the attribute we use. You also want to know what groups that account is member, and this is the attribute we use in AD. Now, once you set up all these, you can test your connection. So when you click on test, you see what you have to provide is a username. And remember, this is going to be replaced by the string, the query string. Now you put username, you click test, and in this case, the AD connector works. This piece in here is what Eramba is going to send to the AD. As you see, this is the base DN. This is the search query, and Eramba replies the string exactly as you provided. And then these are the attributes that we are asking for. And the answer is, well, we found the account. Very important, we have the full DN of the account. You don't want the CN, you want the full DN of the account, not just this value here. Display name returned a result, which is very good. We have the result, it should be full. Member of return an array, and we have these two groups. So this account is member of two groups. Some account name reply with this, which is exactly what we want, because this basically matches the value that we provided. And the mail attribute here replied also with an email. So that is working fine, yes? Now, let's see typical mistakes in here. When you got the wrong hostname, just gonna make a mistake here on purpose. If I test the connection, it doesn't matter what I put here because it won't be able to connect. I'm gonna get a bind issue, yes? So the bind failed because it cannot connect the LDAP server. So if you see this thing here, it's either a problem with the hostname or the port. If you put the wrong credentials, it's gonna do this. So if you have a problem in these two fields, when you test the connection, what you will get is a different issue. It's gonna be invalid credentials. So bind failed again, but you invalid credentials. Okay, so you need to make sure you got the right credentials. If you set the wrong search query, gonna replace this. If you got this wrong search query, whatever value you put in here, eramba won't find it on the AD. And so the return of that will be empty. You see, this is what eramba sent, but nothing came back because nothing could be found based on the queries you provided. It's entirely up to you to provide the right queries in here. And then if I provide the wrong attributes, so let's say I don't use these, I'm going to use CN as a different attribute. I'm going to test the connection now. Now eramba will send this. Oh, it looks very nice. But if you look at the CN value, now I don't have the full DN, I have only this name, and this is not what we want. We want the full DN, okay? So again, just make sure that you get the right attributes here. This should return Esteban.Ribicic, not Esteban space Ribicic, yeah? Right, so once you got this one here, what we need to do is to create the AD group connection. Now, let me go and edit this here. This says exactly the same as before, nothing should be different. On the connector settings, you will select your group connector. And now, this is the query. The query is, the first query we need is the list of groups. So we need to know what groups you have in your AD, and this query should work. And the second attribute is, sorry, the query, this is the filter, the attribute for that query will be the group name. So we want to know the name of the group. Important, we want a DN. All the time you want DNs, you don't want CNs. You don't want the short name of the group, you want the full tree path. The second query, in this connector, you have two types of queries. You got who's a member of that group. So you see, we are searching users that are member of the group. Now again, you have the variable because eramba will ask you to test this connector to provide a group name, right? So because you will say, okay, which users are a member of this group? Very important now, again, this variable should be the full DN of the group. This is why this one needs to return the full DN. You don't want the CN, yeah? From this query, what we want to get out is the account name, and that will be the account name, yes? So the query is here, the attribute for that query is here. You need to tell eramba what also the attribute, the email attribute for that account will be, and you see we have the email here. So we will get the names of the people who belongs to this group, the login, and the email. And we want to set the email string, so we will set that to the email attribute. Now, how you test this thing? The first thing you want to test is test getting list of groups. So this will get you all the list of your groups. So now we have all the groups in the AD. Actually, we don't have all groups. There's a limit of 200. So if you're searching for a group and you don't find it, it's not because it doesn't work, most likely. It's just because it has been stripped from the result. The second thing you want to do is to test getting members of a group. Now, the right way to test this is actually doing the following. You go to your AD authentication connector and you test with your account. I'm going to test with my account, which is Esteban Ribicic. I'm going to test. What I will do is I'll say, because I know Esteban now is a member of this group. You see I have a full DN. Again, I repeat this, is full DN. Now, I know Esteban is a member of this group. So now what I will do is I'm going to test my other group connector with these settings. I'm going to go here, going to edit, test list of groups. I'm going to Control F. Well, I was lucky, I found it, yeah. Again, this might not work because there's a limit of 200. If you have many, many groups, maybe they won't show up here. Now we got the name of the group, the distinguished name of the group, the DN of the group. I said this a million times already. Now you need to get the members of that group. When I go to test members of my group, I provide the full DN. Again, if you're providing only this, you're doing something wrong. You should be giving this, and you should got this from your previous code testing. Okay. Now when I test this thing out, this is the query I'm sending. I'm asking for 2 attributes, the result and the 2 attributes I need. So this is a fully functional connector. The typical mistake I see here is, again, when people configures the authenticator connector, they don't specify DNs, they get CN. So they will do this when they hit test. This will not be a full DN, this will be only this piece in here. Now you need to think that these 3 here will be sent to, eramba will do it internally in certain circumstances. It will send to this connector and will be sent here. And if I send this in my system, nothing will come up because it will not find this in the AD, because eramba is expecting eramba is expecting the full DN. Right, so this is again what you need to all the time try to use your VN connector.